This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. We're going to talk about something today that really pertains to most of us, if not all of us, in relationships. And essentially, it is attachment styles. We have different styles of how we engage in relationships. And that's determined, as I understand it, and he's the expert and will tell us more, that's determined from essentially our childhood and the traumas that we've gone through. Now, I know that word is harsh, hearing that word trauma. We've all been through them. There's all different types, and it kind of pilots us in adult life. He is the man behind Seacoast Counseling Services and offers so much as a clinical psychologist, a counseling psychologist, spiritual psychology he practices as well, energy psychology, a beautiful blend of all different modalities and more. And it's so great to have Dr. Will Newman back with us. How are you today?
I am doing very well, Steve. Glad to be back.
Looking forward to having you here and digging into this thing called attachment styles. And I guess let's define that as the starting point, if we could.
Attachment styles are the ways that we act and speak in relating to other people. And we've been talking much about the causation of psychological symptoms from complex trauma. These symptoms lead to attachment styles which cause one to behave differently in relationships. We'll call them avoidant behaviors. There can be a secure attachment where there's a warm, confident, calm relationship without any anxiety. There's also an avoidant attachment style where, because the anxiety is so high, the intimacy, the communication, the genuineness, the realness, the presence is there. There's also an anxious attachment style, and there's also a dismissive attachment style. And these attachment styles are all related to some form of the experience of the what we're calling complex childhood developmental trauma, or it's abbreviated as complex PTSD. All four types of attachment styles develop due to early childhood experiences. And if it's secure, there's not a problem. But if there can be anxious attachment, avoidant, disorganized, avoidant, anxious, and disorganized attachments are considered the insecure attachments. And that's what we're talking about today. What are the symptoms of insecure attachments? So let's look at understanding a secure attachment. It's a result of feeling secure with your caregivers from childhood and being able to ask for reassurance or validation without punishment, to be able to talk about your feelings, to be able to ask questions, to be accepted with attention and time. And this leads to a feeling of safety, being understood and comforted and valued during your early interactions, because your caregiver, your parents, are emotionally available. On the other hand, if parents are more focused on getting good grades, or where they're going to go to high school or college, or they're busy, or they're inattentive, or they're distracted. That sends in a message to the child: you're not important. You're not significant. What you feel doesn't matter, which leads to these attachment difficulties. In previous podcasts, we talked about the symptoms of trauma: fight, flight, freeze, where one dissociates, meaning partially or completely leaving one's mind and body. And today, I'm going to add to it fawning. That is to be a people pleaser where the anxiety is so high because it wasn't safe to talk about feelings. One defers to pleasing the other person and going along with the other person and making sure that whatever the other person wants, you're going to go along with it and be
Mm.
available to support it, even though it goes against your feelings. Uh, so that's a summary of what we're discussing.
Hmm. So, can we give an example of an attachment style in real time? What it looks like, a couple of different ways that somebody may act around somebody else as an adult, and then go back to, and all hypothetical here, and then go back to childhood and what may have transpired to bring on that attachment style in adulthood.
Yes, we can. And the attachment styles we can summarize are all related to the same insecure attachment. So we'll call one avoidant, another dismissive avoidant, another anxious avoidant, and another disorganized avoidant. All of these behaviors are caused by the same neglect or deprivation. That's the worst of the worst, where the parents just abandon the child, versus the unintentional causations of focusing more on what they want for the child. You need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, you need to get good grades,
Mm,
you need to please people. That affects a child in a different way.
sure.
So therefore, these avoidant attachment styles that I just suggested, the avoidant meaning just keep isolated, dismissive avoidance is one where, because the childhood development sent messages, what you feel and what you want isn't important, they learn to dismiss what someone else says or someone else feels as a way to protect themselves. Others are so anxious that they can't concentrate on the conversation, and they want to just figure out verbally or non-verbally, what does this other person want me to say or do so that they will like me or love me. They're all insecure attachments. And the caregivers, for example, who cause these may have left you fend for yourself or expected you to be independent, reprimanded you for depending on them, rather than supporting you in your dependence in your child development. Uh, Another cause could be, even if the parents rejected you when expressing your needs or emotions, or have hesitated or been inattentive in being slow to respond. And so therefore, going back to your question, one can be so anxious that one avoids communication, one's isolated, or one can be anxious, dismissive, and yet, yes, this person will talk, but if it goes against something that causes painful feelings for you, you'll dismiss that person as he or she isn't important. I don't have to listen to them. I don't have to keep this relationship going, and just stop the relationship. That's the dismissive, where the anxious avoidant is one that tries to avoid the conversation and going into certain subjects because those subjects might lead to the other person not liking you or disagreeing with your thoughts or feelings or beliefs. So you avoid the topics or conversations, or you just agree with the other person for
So
fear of.
let's say, how about this? And thank you for the examples here. I want to make sure I'm in the zone. Two people, let's say they're married, and maybe one of them is not feeling the marriage the way it should be. And then they, lack of a better word, confront the other party and says, we need to talk about this. This is what's going on here. And the other party says, I don't want to deal with that right now. I don't want to talk about that. Is that the avoidant? And the reason that they don't want to talk about it is somehow it's connecting to childhood and trauma. And it may also be that they don't want to upset or disappoint the other person by what they may say. And then the other person may say, you know what, I'm done with this marriage. I'm done dealing with you. And the other party has a fear of abandonment in the first place, so that they're avoiding it for a number of different reasons. Is that reasonable?
Yes, that's fear of abandonment is an example of the anxious attachment style. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of depending on a partner for validation and emotional regulation, because the parents communicated an unavailability or negativity or rejection to show dependence on support in child development.
Yep.
Yes, that's it.
So how do we navigate that? Let's say it's somebody's watching, hearing this, and it's starting to come a little clear in terms of what they do. How do you get around these attachment style challenges?
You find a competent psychologist or therapist who knows how to treat the origin of this causation of the attachment style, which is the trauma from the neglect, deprivation, or other forms of abuse. And that means using therapies that we've discussed previously, such as hypnotherapy, EMDR, brain spotting, ego state, or internal family systems, where you go back into childhood and you repair the damage done, which then creates a healthy attachment and clears the traumatic imprint that we've discussed previously as a biochemical, electrical circuitry in the body, so that those feelings aren't there, so that you alleviate the anxiety, which then doesn't lead to the anxious attachment style that we've just discussed, such as the fear of rejection or abandonment. The codependency is the anxious or the people-pleasing behaviors. And there's one that I'll explain a little bit more, called disorganized attachment, where one is so eager to attach and to be liked and to communicate that we'll call that the pull. They want someone to like them, but then they get so anxious, they push them away because they're afraid of rejection. That's called disorganized. And that is an experience that causes exhaustion, because person doesn't know what to say or do. They want to approach, and then they want to avoid when they get too anxious. So there's this push and pull dynamic. If someone says the wrong thing, it's interpreted as hurtful, they're not going to like me. Or if I say this, they're not going to like me, they'll pull back. But then they feel anxious when they don't have that secure validation. So they'll then they'll pull uh, they'll pull you back and then push you away if they get too anxious. Disorganized attachment.
Do you find, Dr. Will, after many years of experience and working with people on this and so much more, that they can just give a couple of examples of their relationship and right away you've got a feeling for their attachment style? Right away it starts coming clear because you've done this so many times.
Right. Where where they're when they come in for help and they're so anxious that they have a hard time saying what they feel or saying what their problems are in the relationships. It may be friendships, it may be family members, it may be a spouse. That's an example where the same behaviors of avoidant attachment with others are experienced in the office in the beginning until we develop rapport. And I create safety and rapport immediately by not communicating any message of surprise or rejection. I create a presence of warmth and acceptance, compassion, understanding, and that develops safety that this individual has not experienced before. Then they feel safe to apply the therapies that can help him heal the traumatic origin, which can then help them to develop freedom from the avoidant attachment styles, which then leads to improving their relationships.
You know, what you just said, many of us don't realize, and it could be even many of us internally, that somebody could have so much anxiety from their attachment style, their relationship, that you said that they come before you, they can't even fully explain it because that anxiety, and maybe even deep down inside, fear of judgment from speaking to others like yourself, where they're just so worried about being judged that they can't even verbalize it clearly.
That's correct. So that's why I will say things such as, you can tell me anything that you feel or ask any question, and there's never a wrong or bad feeling or thought or question. And I will listen. I will be present. I will be caring and compassionate. And I will suggest a way to heal it to create the safety. And I'll also say, if and when you begin to feel anxiety or that anything isn't safe, you can tell me, and then I'll help step you through it to alleviate it. And that's when we may use some methods of self-regulation to calm the autonomic nervous system to create safety, grounding, and orientation to the safety of the present. Those skills are the basic necessary skills that I always teach in the beginning, so that they know how to regulate themselves with me. Because when they begin to try to communicate with intimacy, the fear of the present from the traumatic experiences from the past is transferred. And when I kindly and compassionately help them to regulate it, then they can feel the change in the body. This is something new. There was never a safe place for them developmentally to feel that self-regulation. So when they can feel it with me in the office, then that frees them to feel more safe about talking about what they feel, what they're confused about, what they want, what they need.
Does this very much come back to fear and feeling safe? This is it. This is the foundation for all of this.
It is certainly that safety in the present, which gives an experience that was not encountered, not experienced in the past, which then gives them an orientation to the reality that I really can be safe when I talk about my feelings, when I talk about my weaknesses, when I talk about what I'm afraid of, when I talk about what I'm confused about, what I talk about when I'm angry, shameful, or guilty about. There really is a possibility of being listened to, heard, accepted, and experiencing compassion. That's a therapeutic experience in the psychotherapeutic relationship that helps to heal. That experience creates neural pathways, new neural pathway circuitry, which replaces the fear circuitry from the experiences where there was the causation of the avoidant or anxious or disorganized or dismissive attachment styles that were developed because there was no safety. There was no time from in the relationship in child development for the parents to be present with them about their feelings. You may recall in the past, I described what is necessary for secure attachment, delight in the child or adolescent, smiling and laughing, also soothing and safety and protection and guidance and direction and support and attention to what they feel. In past podcasts, I've often said those are necessary secure attachments. Without them, the insecure attachment styles that we're discussing today are developed. So I help them experience it in the office with me during the psychotherapy session.
Do you feel that a lot of this becomes challenging for others because they don't fully trust themselves? They may not realize it. They might even not have a sense of it, but they don't trust themselves. And once they get to the point where they have trust, where they can realize that I got this, I can handle that situation. I don't have that fear anymore because I can rely on myself. Is that is that the game changer?
That's the game changer. And that's a good question. And I'm going to give you the signs of secure attachment style that becomes the game changer. Ability to regulate their emotions, ability to trust others, effective communication skills, ability to seek emotional support, comfortable being alone, comfortable in close relationships, ability to self-reflect in partnerships, being easy to connect with, ability to manage conflict well, high self-esteem, which are the pillars we talked about last week, self-acceptance, self-worth, self-efficacy, believing I have within me all the resources within myself to cope with whatever challenge I face, ability to be emotionally available, meaning one can feel secure enough to be present, to feel one's emotions in the interpersonal relationship, to be available to listen rather than detach, rather than be disorganized, rather than dismiss, rather than avoid.
Because it's easier to avoid. It's easier to detach. You don't have to deal with anything. One final thought here. In your description of somebody that is in a good place, able to trust others, I would imagine, absolutely that's important. I mean, if you're paranoid and like, I don't trust anybody, not a good thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean trust everyone.
Certainly not. Able to trust others who earn your trust by being present with sincere loving kindness and compassion, and learning to discern when that truly exists and when it does not. To differentiate when it's a pretender, deceiver, user, sociopathic person versus a genuine, kind, loving, compassionate, warm person. Those are skills that need to be developed.
Yep.
And they start with the therapeutic relationship in my office.
It almost seems as if you develop radar to be able to read others, pick up on what they've got going on, as opposed to, well, yeah, just trust everybody until I get burned. I've adopted this 3-sentence mantra, and I believe in it in my journey. I didn't make it up. Some say it's Shakespeare. Some say it's Bob Marley. It's paraphrased, but love love everyone. Trust few. Always do the right thing for all. We can always say, I did the right thing to serve yourself. No, for the greater good. And when I say trust few, that doesn't mean you don't trust people. It just means you're careful about those you trust. I pilot by that in the last few years, and I believe in it. You know, you can love everyone. You can walk into a Starbucks and just compliment somebody. Yeah, that coffee you made today is fantastic. I don't know what you did. By the way, your hair looks great. Have a great day. You're showing some love for somebody else. We all can do it, and we should do it.
I like what you described, and that's why I laughed. I don't know where it came from. But it
I don't know where it came from.
It's true. It really works. And it reminds me when Jesus was asked, what's the greatest commandment? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. Love everyone. And the more you can love yourself, the more you can love others in the ways that you said that were so humorous when you go into the coffee shop.
But I wish I knew. I got to Google it. I started doing it once, and it's conflicting of who said it, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's true.
Just and again, always do the right thing, but it's got to be for all, because many are entitled, can be self-centered, and well, I did. I'm doing the right thing. You're probably not if you're not considering others. Dr. Will, always great talking with you. What's the best way? Somebody's going through some things, maybe relationship related, no matter what it is that they've lost themselves. How do they connect with you?
The easiest way is email me at drbillnewman@gmail.com, or call me at my office, 978-388-0022. My website has a way to reach me as well, which is Energy Psychologist Amesbury MA Mass.com. And you'll be able to contact me and we can talk about your concern.
Beautiful. And can be anybody anywhere.
Yes.
In the world of virtuality. And so many of us have challenging attachment styles, all going back to childhood. And great that we talked about that today. Appreciate you. Thank you for everything.
You're very welcome. Good to spend this time with you and to talk about such a serious issue with humor and laughter.
That's what it's about.
Yes, it is.
All right. We'll catch up soon. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.